Life on Earth is shaped by a delicate balance of interconnected ecosystems, but that balance now faces an unprecedented challenge brought about by human actions. The threat is none other than the phenomenon of climate change, which threatens to take us over the precipice of sustainable human life on Earth. This Earth is our only home. There is no plan B. The time to act is now.
Climate change refers to the long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Okay, since the 1800s, there's been an acceleration of human activities, which has caused human-induced climate change. And that's because of the burning of fossil fuels, so oil, gas, and coal, which has resulted in the emissions of greenhouse gases. And what happens is these greenhouse gases heat up. It causes an envelope around the Earth. So carbon dioxide and methane have increased, and that's resulted in rising global temperatures. And that's human-induced climate change. So this has resulted in an acceleration of catastrophic storms, of water scarcity, of increased flooding, of increased severity of fires. And what's interesting is that what historically it used to happen over 100 years, so a century, but now it's happening over 10 years. So it's taking a decade for these more catastrophic events to happen. And this impacts society, it impacts the economy, and it impacts the environment. So it poses health threats to people's livelihoods and their working existence and their living circumstances.
Well, the Earth has been hotter than ever recorded for 3 days in a row now.
This heat wave is gripping parts of Europe with temperatures reaching more than 40 degrees Celsius.
Of a place that sells itself as among the lowest, driest and hottest on Earth, this is quite a figure. Forecasters reckon the mercury could soon hit 54.4 degrees Celsius. That's more than 130 Fahrenheit.
I canali sono torridi perché I muri rilasciano il calore che accumulano e non c'è il vento.
Several cities were put on red alert as temperatures rose to almost 42 degrees in Rome on Tuesday.
Transpire, souffre et voilà.
Faut boire beaucoup de l'eau.
Heat waves aren't just setting records on land, they're also setting records at sea.
July 2023 set a record as the hottest month in recorded history, marking an era of global boiling rather than just warming. Climate change knows no borders. It's a global issue that requires a global solution. The Paris Agreement on Climate Change in 2015 seeks to limit the rise in global temperature, but our current weather patterns are challenging these goals. It is important to record that the developed countries bear the burden in terms of their emissions of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, though the impact of climate change is likely to be felt more severely in the developing world. The Paris Agreement hence recognizes common but differentiated responsibilities for countries in contributing to the fight against climate change. This warming trend has given rise to devastating disasters, from floods to droughts, cyclones to wildland fires, and the unprecedented melting of polar ice and glaciers. More disturbing is the fact that these incidents are often growing in frequency and intensity. The El Nino Southern Oscillation, or ENSO, is an irregularly recurring climate pattern in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean in which the ocean surface temperature changes from warmer than normal, El Nino, to cooler than normal, La Nina. As the NOAA observes, the El Nino Southern Oscillation is one of the most important climate phenomena on Earth due to its ability to change the global atmospheric circulation, influence temperature and precipitation across the globe. Meteorologists have announced the onset of El Nino from mid-2023 and its expected impact on weather patterns have been recorded across the globe. In South Africa, the incident of El Nino is associated with drier and hotter conditions, including potential drought conditions and accompanying impact of a decline in agricultural yields and general food security, increasing spread of disease and more frequent and more intense wildland fires. The wetter and cooler weather during the preceding La Nina period over the past 3 years has seen increased vegetation growth, increasing the fuel load for wildland fires once the drier and hotter conditions set in.
Humans actually use controlled fire, what is termed as prescribed fire, can remove the vegetation and actually prevent the larger, bigger, more damaging fires. And typically what happens is one would burn when it's the environment that the temperatures are about cooler, so you get these cool patchy fires that move through the landscape and remove the fuel, so that when a big fire does move through, it sort of trickles through the landscape, so you're breaking down the fuel load. There are many natural ways of removing fire, so one of them is using controlled fires for the prescribed burning, but you can also use grazing animals to actually remove the flammable material. And you can also remove the alien plants, which are problematic and which are highly flammable, which impact people on the urban fringe. This is important because the management of fuel is critical, because it stops the spread of extreme wildfire events from shifting, and those are the fires that cause the most damage. And that's why a focus on fire management and fuel management, the vegetation, is so critical to managing fires.
2023 has been a frightening mirror of what is to come. Extreme floodings, raging wildland fires, mega cyclones and droughts are harbingers of what the future holds. The outlook of wildland fires is particularly dire. The global fire season in 2023 has been unprecedented, with Canada enduring its worst fire season in history, scorching over 18 million hectares of forest. From Hawaii to North America, Southern Europe to Australia, and even the northern part of South Africa, wildfires have wreaked havoc in 2023. As a continent, Africa will be one of the regions most impacted by climate change. Already, some 67% of the 4.3 million square kilometers of the Earth's land surface area which burns annually are in Africa. We should also note that these fires are not simply damaging the landscape, but inducing long-term changes to our environment and climate. For example, the smoke from the fires in Canada has released some 327 megatons of CO2, or 27% of the global total, into the atmosphere. While climate change is impacting on wildland fires are worsening climate change through the loss of the Earth's carbon sinks in the Amazon forests, the burning of the peatlands in the arboreal forests, and the smoke emissions from these fires. The impact of wildland fires on human life is largely underestimated. While deaths directly attributed to wildland fires often receive media coverage, the full extent of the impact on human life is largely underestimated. A recent report in The Lancet indicates that exposure to wildfire smoke results in more than 30,000 deaths across the 43 countries included in the study. How do we navigate this evolving wildland fire landscape? A 2023 UN report aptly titled "Spreading Like Wildfire" warns of a 50% increase in wildland fire intensity and frequency by the turn of the century. The UN Secretary General described it as a code red for humanity. This report calls for a shift in focus, with 2/3 of the resources directed towards prevention, preparedness and recovery rather than just fire suppression. It is very clear that the scale of the present and anticipated wildland fires far outstrips local, regional, and often national fire management authorities. The 2023 Canadian fire season is a case in point where firefighters from 13 countries were mobilized to assist Canada's fire management efforts. Working on fire dispatched 861 workers in 4 distinct deployments to Alberta, the Northwest Territories, and British Columbia in 2023, the largest international deployment yet. These working on fire teams were the second largest delegation of 13 countries that came to Canada's aid during its time of need. Our firefighters returned home safely after being recognized and applauded by Canadian fire management authorities for their expertise, devotion, and passion. Similarly, during the Knysna disaster fires in 2017, firefighters and aerial resources had to be mobilized from across South Africa. The emphasis on preventative activities including public fire awareness education in fire-prone communities, managing fuel loads, enhancing early detection, improving preparedness, more extensively applied fire research, and its integration with practical fire management and rehabilitation of damaged landscape should form an integral part of our armory in the battle against unwanted wildland fires. Moreover, fire management strategies need to incorporate a broad system-wide approach across biomes to account for changes in land use and potential impact on related ecosystems. The roadmap ahead involves not only a collective commitment to safeguarding the planet for our future generations, but immediate actions by all relevant role players. The time is running out. The time to act is now. For more information, visit our website or contact us. Together, we can make a difference.